G'day, Mental Health Friends Ignite. My name is Justin Gange. I live in Logan in Queensland, and I have a living experience of mental health diagnosis, that being bipolar type 2. I also have a living experience of suicidality spanning over 30 years now. So I know I look a lot younger than that, but that's the reality. But I want to talk today a little bit about work-life balance, and what does work-life balance mean to me? For me, it is such an important element for my own well-being, but also in respect to having that extra capacity to help other people. And so the words of my boss ring in my ear, you never dig a well when you're thirsty. You know, the importance of developing strategies well before you might need them down the track. And so for me, that's what today's session is going to be all about. It's about how do we maintain our work-life balance, our own well-being, both in the workplace and also in the home as well. So that's what it means to me. Very important. Next question I want to talk a little bit about is, how do I actively enforce a work-life balance in my life? I break it down into 4 simple steps, or 4 simple buckets that I try and maintain some sort of level in each of those buckets. So I've got my physical well-being bucket, I've got my mental well-being bucket, I've got my connection well-being bucket, and I've got my purpose-driven well-being bucket. And so those 4 buckets are essential. And for me, my job involves supporting people in crisis, supporting people going through some tough stuff in their life, and empowering and giving confidence and skills to their mates, so that they too can have conversations, they too can have the confidence in how we support people when they're going through the challenges that people go through sometimes in their lives. And so that gives me purpose. Being able to give confidence and skills to other people and support people in their toughest times, that actually gives me a sense of purpose. And so that tops up that purpose driven bucket there. At home, so that's my work at home. My physical bucket, it used to be running. It used to be doing lots of singing and stuff like that. But actually, the older I get, the more enjoyment and bucket filling activity I do is actually in my garden. That connection to land, being out in the sun, getting the dopamine hits. But whether it's cutting grass, building retaining walls, trimming trees, but basically seeing the fruits and the flowers of your hard work is something that really fills that bucket up for me. For other people, it's going to the gym, going for a surf, going for bushwalking or whatever that looks like. But that physical activity is an important part. Now, married up with that physical activity is that connection. So the one thing that I do to enjoy is hanging with my family. That connection to my family, going out to the movies, going out for dinner, even catching up with me mum and dad on FaceTime once a week. So those are the things that I do as far as that connection bucket goes. Sometimes it's going out with a mate to do some karaoke or having a hit of golf with some mates, but connecting with people, having a yarn with the neighbours, doing something like that. So that's how I keep that bucket full. And the final bucket I look at is that mental well-being. And for me, that's learning. I'm 50 now, and at the age of 49, I got my first degree in humanities, and so constantly learning and doing things that help me learn. So those are the things that I actively do to enforce my work-life balance. So any advice that I have for anyone out there that might be struggling with their work-life balance is start with the end in mind. So what I'm talking about there is, when I think of the end in mind for me, that's, being surrounded by my loved ones, my family and my closest friends at the back end of life. And so if I have that at the forefront, that I need to maintain those relationships, I need to maintain that work-life balance so that those relationships will prosper. And that'll keep me in a good place. But sometimes when you're really, busy in the busyness of the business, you might struggle to say, well, I can't turn the ship straight away, all the way around. And so I talk about the one percenters, the things that each and every one of us can do. Maybe it could be, revisiting going for a bike ride like you used to years ago, or going to the beach, or spending that time with a neighbour or a friend or a mate or a family member. But just doing one thing, maybe to tip into one of those buckets, and slowly but surely the levels of those buckets will rise, and so that you'll be able to have a solid foundation of that work-life balance. So those are just some of the things that I would think of doing, is start with the end in mind and think of the one percenters. What one thing that can I do today? What little 1% thing can I do to actually tip into one of my buckets? So that's me. I'm not an expert, just a bloke with some experiences, and find out what that means to me. Find out what that means to you, I should say. So take care, look after yourself, have a great week. See you guys.